back to the North Florida Wrestling Show. We are live with Coach Tanner of Thomas County, Central Georgia. Coach Tanner is going to talk the upcoming Tristate tournament, what's new, and TCC wrestling, and give Jordan some much-needed advice on being a head coach this season. So join along with us. All right, Coach Tanner, thank you for coming back on the show. I'm sure you didn't know if we were going to make it a whole year, but we are back around, and we have you back on to talk some South Georgia wrestling. How you been, brother?
Good, man. I appreciate you calling and asking me.
Yeah, man. Well, you got that.
I'm pretty disappointed your dad's not on, but I'll deal with him later.
Dude, I mean, it's not his. He's going to tell you, this is exactly what he's going to tell you. He's going to tell you it's HughesNet. He's going to blame it on HughesNet, which,
That's right.
you know, they're not sponsoring us, so I ain't worried about it. But we're trying to get him back up and going because he's excited. It's not because he don't want to be here. But, man, you got that. We were just talking about it a little bit, but you got that Tri-State coming to your area not this weekend, weekend after, though, right?
Right. Yeah. 16th, September 16th.
Yeah, man, I wish I was going to be able to go. You guys are going to like it. You guys are going to like it a lot. Like, it is super, especially if you're just like, you'll be able to sit there and just kind of let a lot of the stuff run and watch these kids kind of get after it. Maybe you're like the war zone aspect of it too, just seeing a lot of random matchups.
Yeah, I've, like I was telling you earlier, I've got a couple kids who participated in some, but I've never experienced it firsthand. So, Jason asked me if I'd host it, and man, I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see kind of how it runs and, see what our guys can do.
Well, speaking of your guys, I remember last year you were talking pretty positive about the direction of your club program. How well has that been going since last we spoke?
Yeah, we think we're about ready to start letting them compete. Last we talked about it was just more, skills based, athleticism type stuff, and just teach them how to move and enjoy wrestling. And as we've gone, we've got some folks that have the itch. We've competed a couple times locally with some other club programs. Just let them get together and roll around, and we got a good bit of them. I think they're ready to start having points added to a scoreboard and with hands raised and stuff like that. So.
Man, that's so exciting. With this last weekend, I had a couple that was their first tournament, and there's one girl in particular, Trinity, from our team at the Wrestling Academy, that she had been practicing for like a year, and she got her first competition, and I was so nervous. I was more nervous for that than just about any other one because they put that much time into it, and she's been ready.
Right.
And there's just some things that you can't, like, you can practice and coach them and practice all you want, but there's just some things that until they're in a match, like, then that's when they put it together, like, okay, that makes much more sense now. And it's so cool to see them get that moment.
Yeah, there's so much of a feel involved in it. Anyways, I've got guys in my high school room that, at practice, drilling, they look great. Young guys, and they're getting a match, and it's like, oh, they haven't felt, how to put it together with that pressure and feel how it flows when that light bulb finally goes off.
What's different, they start thinking too much, and then all of a sudden it's like you get a lot more tired. Their shots are a little bit slower, but all you can do is
you got live defense.
Yeah, exactly. You got someone that's like trying to win just as bad as you.
That's right.
Well, how's your high school team doing? How did y'all finish up last year? How y'all looking up this year?
We had one. I had one placer. My 195 ended up getting his name on the board. He'd worked all 4 years and come up short, and then finally last year made it happen. Upset the 2 seed in the state tournament. And, I think he ended up getting fifth. Had a couple, for dad, you know what I'm talking about. A couple calls not go his way. But anyways, he wrestled hard. That was his best tournament he's ever wrestled, regardless of his placement. He was excited about it. Had a couple not do as good as I thought he was going to do, but that's life. One of those, David Jones, he's starting his freshman year up at Huntington College now. So I talked to him the other day. He's loving it, and they're about to start getting after a little bit. So kind of where we are there. This year, we rolled around a little bit the other day during weight training, and they were warming up and stretching, and all my seniors are in the center circle, leading stretches. Everybody else, circles around the outside like most people do. the inside circle wasn't big enough. I got 13 seniors, and I didn't even realize it. Um, so I don't know. Past couple of years, I thought we were going to be pretty good, and we were, fairly average. And this year, I don't think we'll be very good. But then I look at that circle, and I'm like, man, these kids have been wrestling for a while. So we'll see.
Yeah, all 13 seniors. All it takes is to get them to believe in one thing, and then you never know where it goes from there, man.
That's right. That's right.
No, like so. Well, like speaking of being a head coach, you've been one for a while. I'm coming up on my first year up at Niceville. What advice would you have? So if you were looking back at Coach Tanner, first year head coach, what's some
Right.
stuff that you would tell him about just to be a little bit more prepared, or some things that you just can't see coming?
Um, this is year 15 for me. Probably the biggest thing is you got to be you. You've had multiple coaches. You've been around. You've been around other coaches. You just got to be you. And a lot will come. Who you are as a coach will continue to grow and mold as you get older. And I had a dad tell me this. Probably my uh, third, fourth, and fifth year, I think, coaching. We were talking, and I used to be, and I'm still hard on my guys, but I used to be super, super duper hard when I look back. And he loved it. Some parents didn't, but he loved it. And his kid was a 3-time state champ, and so they ate it up. And but he said you're fine, coach. Because I'd ask him, am I too hard on him? He said you're fine, coach. He said, but you'll change when you have kids. So I don't know if you have kids. Um,
Well, see, I do. That's a problem that I have with my own because I have two step kids, and my
yeah,
oldest is starting to kind of develop and taking to it and being rough. My youngest one, I think, is just kind of getting used to the roughness of it, still kind of shaking some of that off, and I can never
right.
tell if I'm being too hard or too soft, or it's a hard line to to straddle.
I think it's kind of tough because it all comes like we were just talking about with the wrestlers. As they can learn exactly what to do. So the light bulb goes off, and they get a little experience. Um, you'll do a lot of different things, but believe in what you do and understand that I had to learn that I can coach them the way that I wrestle, and I can coach them everything that I know. It's different, different kids are different. You got to find a way to make each kid successful. Even if that's something that you wouldn't typically do or have done. So, always be willing to learn and reach out to other folks to help you out with that. I don't mind asking people for help, daily if I have to. Um, like the big thing too is don't create headaches for yourself if it's not needed. I used to get so mad. For example, in the summertime, I had 5 kids that didn't show up that I would take it out on the 30 in the room. You know, because I said you don't miss. It's mandatory. So focus on the ones that are there, coach the ones that are there, because those are the ones you'll be able to count on.
How do you build a team culture? If you come into one that doesn't, maybe necessarily have one, how do you get a bunch of guys to kind of start believing in the program that you're building? You've been there for 15 years.
Right.
How do you get them on? How do you get that growing?
Well, this is my 8th season here at Thomas County. And when I got here, they had a program, and the boys were good. They loved wrestling, and they were decent wrestlers. Um, I had come from a couple programs that had a lot more success. Um, so again, staying true to who you are and what you know works. Um, the ones that want to be there will be there. And the longer they're in the program, the better they'll get. One thing I did when I got here was, I think we talked about this last time. I started them as young as possible. So at that point, it was 6th grade. So actually, 6th graders or 5th graders when I got here um, are the seniors now. So these are my very first guys that started wrestling with us when I got here. If that culture comes with the kids that show up and buy in, and then year after year, they follow leads. And you'll have leaders. Leaders will develop. It may not be the ones you want. It don't have to be a senior. But once you get a few of them to buy in, and hey, this is how we do things here, then it'll trickle down. for us, it's easy because our middle school and high school practice at the same time in the same gym. So, the fifth graders in our room see exactly what our seniors, act like. So, I would say do your best to build it from the bottom up.
Is TCC 6 through 12?
So we have a middle school that has a fifth and sixth grade side. It's the same. They're in the same building with the seventh and eighth graders, and then high school is across the street.
Okay.
And now, now during the season, 2 or 3 times a week, we bust over all the elementary schools. So there might be for clubs. So there might be for an hour. There might be 100 something kids, kindergarten through 12th grade, in the same gym during the season. So it's they all get to see it. So now my little boy who's in kindergarten, knows the names of the seniors and sees how they act, and hopefully wants to be and do what they do. So again, I think you build a culture from the bottom, and you grow it instead of forcing forcing what you want. And you'll have to do that with your older kids. You have to force what you want, for a couple of years, but it'll, if you stay consistent with it and expectations are set, you'll get what you want. And that's not in terms of winning or losing. That I tell my kids all the time that you may do everything right and work your tail off and might never win the match. It's not about that.
Yeah,
and that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, it's about doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of, so how do you go about picking your captains for your team, the leaders that you place on it? I know a lot of places will have like the team vote. Some of it's strictly up to the coach. How do you go about it?
So I don't even name captains. I try to make it as team oriented as possible and not separate individuals. Now what ends up happening, like you go to a duel, they call for captains to come out. The ones that go out are the ones that should go out. And it might be a senior, that might be a sophomore. You know what I'm saying? So, it kind of works itself out. The ones that are the leaders are the ones that are going out, and the ones that are out there are not going to let somebody come out there that doesn't.
I got you.
That's the way I do it.
No, I got you. I like it. I mean, everybody's got their way. Speaking of one, that me and one of my other coaches that were going to coach with me at Nice, we're talking about wrestle-offs, and we got into a not long one, but kind of longish. How do you go about with wrestle-offs if you have like a bunch of kids on your team and everybody's wanting to wrestle off? How do you go about telling these kids like it's not happening, for X, Y, and Z?
So with scheduling, I try to schedule where everybody can go and wrestle. If we have a duel or whatever, I try to make sure that somebody's got a lot of expertise so that everybody get matched. And I kind of put in the 14 in there that are going to score me points, if that makes sense. We go to a tournament, I try to make sure there's a JV side. And the guys that I know that I can trust, they're gonna be the point scorers. And then when it comes close to like region duels, if there's one that wants to kind of challenge and jump in there, then I'll just let them. Hey, coach, I want to wrestle him today. I'm like, okay. Or we might have a day, few days before region, and say, all right, we're gonna wrestle off tomorrow. So anybody that wants to, that's fine. And if there's 5 people in the weight class, then I make all of them wrestle each other, kind of like a tournament. So, the last one wrestles the better guy in my eyes, or the guy that's been wrestling varsity the whole time. And I tell them too, because I've actually had this happen. I had a kid catch a guy in a wrestle off one time, so I let him go wrestle in the tournament, and it was just a tune-up type tournament. And he went out to the tournament and he didn't produce. So my guys understand that the 14 that are out there are producing, and they know that if they catch a kid in the match, I might make a decision. And most times they understand that anyway, and I might let them go and put them in the tournament. One's a point scorer, the other one's not. Both on the varsity side, and let them ride. I've actually had wrestle-offs like that before too. Put them both in the tournament, and usually they'll see each other somewhere. And if they see each other, hey, this is the wrestle-off. Whoever wins is who's got the spot, the next time.
See, I like that. I like that. That's something that I've seen more of in the last couple of years, where they're allowing you to enter like two kids
Mhm.
into a tournament and one be a non-point scorer. I like that. I wish that had been around a little bit more when I was going through. I think it gives a lot of, like you said, it eliminates a lot of those kind of like would-be wrestle
Right.
offs. Who even if they don't match up to who ended up higher, who went further,
Right.
who had performed better. That
Right.
was that was a bit of a hot topic with us.
I mean,
Well,
if even if like say you catch my best kid, when I put you both in the tournament, I might still label him as the point scorer because I know he's going to produce. You
yeah,
know,
exactly.
I mean, you don't know if you're scoring points. You're just wrestling. That's all you want to do anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at that point, that'll be your thing to be able. It's like he's on my radar, and then if one
That's
does
right.
better, then it's like he's the point scorer.
That's right.
So what are some of the hardest things about being a head coach that you've uh found over the last 15 years?
I think with anything, wrestling not being a mainstream sport, just getting guys out there. This is the second year that I haven't coached football, so the years that I did coach football, I tried to get as many of those guys out as possible, and it helped them out. And if they weren't wrestling varsity by their junior year, they kind of quit coming, which is fine. It's helping them develop athletically for what they want to do. Um, but I would try to get so many of those guys out because if I can get these guys out, we'll be better. Um, so probably the recruiting aspect. It's not necessarily. If I look back now, and those guys, maybe two or three of them, might have helped me along the past 8 years. So um, it might not be who you think it is that you need. You know what I'm saying? So just give everybody a shot. Because if you're trying to recruit and you're having trouble getting kids out, take them all. I used to do like quote unquote tryouts, and really it's like a week of a boot camp, and if you made it, then good, and if you didn't, then good. And I try to kill them to see who wanted to be out there. But that was one of those other things that I learned too. That had nothing to do with wrestling because maybe that kid just hadn't learned anything yet, and as he got in shape, he might have actually been something. So I say take them all, man. That's the hardest thing is getting kids on the mat. Take them all, train them all, let them run themselves off. By not setting your expectations. I tell them all the time, I'm not going to kick anybody off, but you can dismiss yourself, from the team by not doing certain things.
Yeah, no, I worry I'm gonna try. I worry I'm gonna not worried about cutting people because, like you said, people usually cut themselves. I'm worried about trying to like save everyone. Be like, oh no, you should try it out. You to keep on going. And some kids is like, it's not for me, dude. It's not for me, homie. I'll be like,
Well,
just
I've
give it.
done it. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I mean, I've there's been kids that I've tried to save, and do everything you can. You try to work with the parents, and sometimes they're, do whatever you got to do, and sometimes they don't care. So that's kind of the biggest thing. I haven't found it very difficult to get parental support. I mean, usually if you ask for it, they're all about it. So that hasn't been very tough for me. One good thing about wrestling too is if you're better than me, you're wrestling. I'm not. It really doesn't matter how much money my daddy gives the program. I don't know if I never had to run into those problems either. But probably just getting folks on the mat, and again, that starts with your culture as well, in my opinion, and starting them when they're young so they stay out.
Well, we're trying to build the culture over here in North Florida, man. It's just a little at a time. But I appreciate you giving your time and giving your advice on it. I look forward to all the ups and the downs of being a
Yeah.
full on hands on coach and everything. And I look forward to you getting this Rapid Brackets Warzone thing on there. This upcoming 2 weekends from now. Man, you're gonna get a ton. Some kids are gonna get tons of matches.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm excited about it. A lot of my kids are. I think I got about 5 or 6 wrestling minutes, and then of my high school kids wrestling minutes, and then the rest of them just going to hit me run it. So.
Well, I won't be there, but I'll be sitting there on the website, sitting there watching the results come in from it.
Yeah.
Well, appreciate you coming on, man. We'll have you back on soon enough.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.